typically do in a Working City Wednesday meeting. It's in hopes that community members come, anybody that has information or access to any different resources so that they can bring that to this event and let the community know. America, do you want to translate before I go further?
Sorry, I wasn't paying attention. I was reading the message just by looking at my camera and seeing if anybody needed translation.
It's okay.
I don't see anybody.
Yeah, I put a message in the chat in Spanish asking that if someone needs it to like raise their hand. And so I guess America can be on hold until someone says they need it.
Okay, perfect. I just didn't want to get too far and then have to backtrack.
Yes.
Okay. So the topic for our September edition of Working City Wednesdays is a year in review of how the community members did during COVID and what resources that they were able to find and succeed with. And, you know, during this meeting, we talk about all the different resources that are available. And in hopes that if a community member hears something about a resource that they weren't able to get or that they need, that this meeting would get them to get access to those resources. So we just want to go over our mission statement quickly. And the Berkshire Bridges Working Cities Pittsfield Initiative views Pittsfield as a community of hope and opportunity where all residents are actively engaged in shaping their city. With informed systems, policies, and services, new avenues are created for capital development so that all individuals living here can work and thrive equitably. I can't say that word at all. And so right now we're kind of going through a phase of asking also the community if this is a clear depiction of how they view Berkshire Bridges Working Cities and if we would need to make any modifications to our mission statement of what they were able to receive from us that isn't in there. So everybody that has previously engaged with Berkshire Bridges Working Cities, does everyone feel like that is a clear depiction of how we represent the community and the city of Pittsfield? No,
I think so. I think so.
Okay. So I am going to call on John to go over the community agreements during this meeting.
Just got to close the chat so I can see it again. Okay. So our community agreements, one mic, no crosstalk. If you have something to share, please raise your hand in the reactions, or if you have a camera. No one wins unless everyone wins. Step up and step back. And what that means is if you're active in meetings, usually take a bit of a step back and let other people step up that might not be so active. Clarify any abbreviations or acronyms that you're using so everyone understands what you're talking about. Be open to all ideas. Please leave out your title. We're all community members. And listen respectfully when someone else is speaking. Thank you.
Thank you, John.
Do you want to go around the room, Tanya, for new and good?
Yeah, I was just waiting for the next slide if there is one after that. Perfect. So typically what we do in our Working City Wednesday meetings is we go around to each individual, and if you're not comfortable speaking about it, you can pass. But we like to share a new and good, and that's from just the last time that we all met each other. So something new in your life and something that's good. So I will go first. New and good for me is that the kids are all doing great in school, and they come home and get right to what they need to get done so that we can have fun. So it's nice to see them back in school and learning new things. And I will pass to America.
So something good and new for me today is that I am here at the parking lot. My daughter is taking her first chorus lesson, something that I am not really into, but she likes singing, so that's good, and that's new in my life. And I'll pass it to Alicia.
Hi, my name is Alicia. Something new and good. I honestly don't have anything like that's coming to mind right now, but I'm fine, don't worry. So I'm gonna pass it to Joyce.
Something new and good. I just had my daughter's bridal shower on Sunday, and her wedding is 30 days away. So we're hoping everybody stays happy, healthy, and safe until then. So I will pass it to Linda.
Well, my new and good, I hope will be your new and good pretty soon if you have a dog, because new and good is the Pittsfield Dog Park opened Monday, and I've been there twice with Micah. He loves it. Everybody is having a wonderful time there, dogs and humans. It's on Lakeway going up toward the lake, just on the west side of Valentine, going up to Anoda. So please check it out. New, good, wonderful. I will pass it to Alan.
Hello. Excuse me. Howdy. My name is Alan. I'm doing pretty good. What's doing good? I've been working very hard on getting my I guess communications set up for my community navigator role. I've been enjoying that a lot, and doing it right now. There's a lot of people texting me. But I'm enjoying it a lot. It's a lot to take in, and I can't wait to share more about what that is and what it's been able to do for me today later on in the meeting. So I'd like to take that and pass it to Ginger.
Hi. Yes, so new and good for me, I guess, would be I've had a pretty hectic couple of months and things are starting to taper down. So that's new and good for me. I'll pass it to Jason.
New and good for me is, along with my wife's, is the kids doing well in school. Our 3-year-old is back in daycare, which frees up our days so we can get back to work, which we did 18 months working from home while juggling the 4 kids in school and a toddler.
Super fun.
So our freedom, I say new and good is our freedom, our newfound freedom. Maria, I'll pass it to Maria.
Oh yeah. Hello, good night. My new and good is today was the picture day in the school, and my daughter dressed like a princess for this occasion.
You want to pass it to somebody, Maria?
Oh, I don't see. For Caroline.
Thank you, Maria. So my new and good is Friday. We had 40 volunteers and staff and residents working in 6 blocks in the West Side. And the weather held, and we got a lot done, but we got a deeper level of relationship and knowing each other. So I'm really psyched about that. And I have a new grandbaby I got to see just before I'm in Belgium, and I'm back from there. So that's about it. And I will pass to Dubois.
My camera working? Oh, hey. Good evening, everyone. Dubois Thomas. New and good is, I can't steal from everybody. Friday was awesome with the volunteers in the West Side. It was also my kids' picture day a few days ago, and we already got the pictures back, and they didn't have their eyes closed and they were smiling. So thumbs up. Maybe we can send them off to the grandparents without feeling bad about it. And I will pass on to Joel. Pastor Joel.
Hi, everyone. My new and good is that I am, Mass Save is going to come out to my house and do an energy audit, and I'm excited about that because I don't know where to start, and they will help. And I think I might be the last one. Is that right? Unless, Tanya, have you gone?
I already went. I think, John, did you already go?
Not yet.
Oh, then John, go. Jonathan, I will pass to you.
Oh, well, thank you very much. Sorry. Let's see. My new and good is, yeah, Friday was really good. That was a really good day. A lot of community engagement, but I think my biggest new and good at the moment would be that my daughter's wedding is coming up toward the end of October, and that's pretty exciting. And I will pass to Allison.
Hey everybody, I'm making dinner at the same time, but my new and good is my 2 really good friends that I set up maybe 8 years ago are getting married this weekend, and I'm officiating their wedding. So it's a big honor, and I'm really excited.
Great. Thank you so much, everyone, for sharing a little something that's going on in your life and something that's good for you to continue to look forward to. So we came up with highlights of certain topics that a lot of community members on previous meetings shared that this is what they were having the most problem with getting resources for. And so we would like to go over them and see if that's still an ongoing problem that we would be able to assist with, or what isn't working, so that we can dig into it and figure out how to make this easier for the residents to get these different resources. So one of the big ones is childcare, and the problems with the childcare that we were seeing was the rates of childcare if they weren't eligible to receive a voucher, or the decrease in how many children were able to be in one location at a time due to COVID. So a lot of them weren't able to go back to where they were going for childcare previously. And then the hours of childcare have changed. And so I don't know if anybody has noticed or has experienced it themselves personally, but is that still an ongoing issue that we're hearing from different community members?
Tanya, do you want us to put it in the chat, or is there a
if you just
mechanism
want
for
to
voting?
If you just want to raise your hand, you know, like a yes, that you have been hearing that, and then if you care to go into specifics about what the individual problems are, so that as community navigators we can try to help those community members get to that resource.
Dubois has his hand up.
Oh yeah, I just wanted to make a clarifying point. So the community navigators help their other residents navigate these kind of issues and systems, but not limited to this, obviously. And so we're looking for feedback not only in how well navigators were able to help community residents through these issues, but if there were any systemic or issues with the organizations that also provide these services, because part of Berkshire Bridges Working Cities operations is that we'd like to be able to give feedback to the other organizations about how those resources and services are actually reaching people. And so, yeah, anything specific about either something a navigator has helped somebody with or direct service through another organization.
Okay, so as you can see on the screen, if everybody can see that, some of the topics are childcare, mental health, housing, financial assistance, transportation, jobs, school, food, and healthcare.
Allison has her hand up.
Allison?
Thanks. I can just really speak from personal experience in like recent months about childcare. I am a Pittsfield resident and I work in Pittsfield. So I was looking for childcare for my 1-year-old for probably 6 months, and just not hearing. I would call and submit email and basically reached out to like any daycare program I could find in Pittsfield, and I heard back from almost none, maybe 1 or 2 sporadically, and then no follow-up. But I did eventually get a spot at the YMCA for my daughter. And it was only because I showed up in person at the right time. So I would say spaces are really, really limited. I was even looking in like Dalton and Lenox and Lee, but it was a huge challenge just to hear back from providers. I was getting no response. So that was a big challenge for me personally, but I imagine it's an issue that a lot of people are running into.
Were you able to find out why that was? Was there just because of COVID and they just didn't have the capacity, or what was going on?
I know it was, at least at the YMCA, when I finally made contact, it was a staffing issue for a long time. I think during COVID, a lot of the teachers left the daycare settings. So I don't know if it was that they couldn't fill positions or if people weren't comfortable coming back in person with a bunch of kids yet. But I know that staffing was really low for a while, at least at that one particular spot. I didn't hear back from others though. So either they didn't have capacity to even answer my email, or it was just basically a way of saying no, that they don't have a spot by not responding. But it was a tough thing.
So Allison, if we were to pass on that information to the daycare providers in our community, like even if you don't have a spot, a quick email might at least help the person be able to move on to the next thing. Would that be a fair assessment?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Or like, at least if you can, like any information would be helpful. So I found that a lot of spots were opening up at places in September when kids move up into the next level of daycare or move on to public school. And so just like, yeah, if daycare providers could just provide that little bit of feedback, or, we don't have space, just like a 1-line email or a phone call back would be great. Just to know that you didn't get lost in the abyss.
Thanks, Allison.
Thank you for that, Allison. It was definitely hard also on my end, getting all of that back up and running once we decided to put the baby back in daycare of, determining whether there was still room in the one that he was going before and all that and what the rate was going to be. And luckily enough, there was still room in the one that he was experienced in being. So we were fortunate enough in that. All right, so there are a lot of resources that are available to different residents, well, to all residents. And the biggest thing right now, because the moratorium is up, is housing. Raft is being overwhelmed with a lot of applications right now. And so they're kind of backlogged on that. And it's frustrating both on their end and also the residents' end, because they're waiting to get the funding so that they don't get evicted, but they're trying to do their due diligence and making sure that they're getting the correct information. So if you yourself or anyone that you know is behind on rent and needs assistance filling out a RAFT application, that is one of the things that the community navigators assist with. Food. Also, we have partnered with South Congregational Church and do a food pantry delivery that goes out every Monday to residents in Pittsfield who, for multiple reasons, cannot leave their house to get down to the food pantry to get that food on their own. And to be signed up for that, it would be also reaching out to a community navigator to be linked with myself, who sends over the information to South Congregational Church. And we'll all put, if all of the navigators could just put their contact information into the chat so that everyone on this meeting can get that. And the easiest way, if you are not, joining us in right now and can see the chat, is to call the Habitat office, which is 413-442-3181, and they will connect you with a navigator. Alan, do you want to talk about your experience with mental health and what you're able to offer as a community navigator?
Yes. Sorry, I was like typing all that into the chat and I couldn't undo that. But I see my dad's got his hand up. I don't know if you wanted to finish your thought.
Oh, I was just talking about related to the housing. Carolyn had put in the chat that utility costs are rising, and related to both housing and utility costs, there is a program of neighbor to neighbor funding available. Different providers have different amounts available. So through Habitat, we have up to a $500 payment available for utilities or rent or car repair, that sort of thing. Other providers have up to $1,000, I believe, one of them being 18 Degrees. So that is another resource that's available to try to alleviate those costs as well.
John, can I just expound a little bit on my utility concerns?
Absolutely.
So in addition to being able to connect to resources to help pay the bill, I think what we really need to do is look at why are the rates, or what is it because of the rates? Is it because of the usage? What is it actually doing that's driving $4,000, $5,000, $8,000 in utility bills? Like, I feel like if, and I think we have some volunteers that if people wanted to get their, if you think your utility bill is too high, if you could get a printout from the utility company, we have volunteers that would love to do an analysis on what is going on and see if there's some upstream solution, because this is something that's going to cripple our entire community. So that's all I wanted to say about that.
All right, I will expound upon mental health. I used to work for the Bean Center crisis team, so I know a bit or two about accessing mental health services in Berkshire County. It sucks. It's not easy. It's very difficult. But I wanted to talk a little bit about some experiences I've had in the past year about folks trying to access services with mental health. It's not easy. I know there's a huge wait list right now on getting a therapist through the Breen Center. There's a huge wait list, and they have a program that maybe folks may not be totally aware of. And I'm going to make a presentation later on that's in more detail about how to navigate emergency mental health in general. But I know that they had a program open up called behavioral health urgent care, which was a temporary therapy that was set right in the crisis office to help kind of give people a jump start into getting their more permanent therapist through the Breen Center. So they do have systems in place that will help people get therapy done a lot faster than it has done in the past. However, before I was leaving, I do remember that they were quite backlogged. Even in that program itself, they had somewhere in the neighborhood of hundreds of people that they were seeing. Granted, the turnover, because it was a temporary program, was very high, but still hundreds of people for a literal handful of clinicians. So that was just a huge kind of a chokehold. Just a lot of people trying to get into services, but there's just not enough of them to go around. And also, I was at the local peer center here in Pittsfield, known as the Wildflower Alliance Center, formerly known as the Recovery Learning Community. They underwent a name change at the beginning of the pandemic. I was at the center today and have been going there periodically for the last couple of weeks because I really want to get connected with the coordinator there. And she was telling me a lot about, their experience last year being a community center on a ground floor right on downtown Pittsfield, where during the pandemic, they would have people coming in, seeking a lot of help because they lost their jobs. They are getting backlogged on their rent, and they didn't know who to go to or where to go. And I think the quote that I was told was, "Where were you?" Speaking towards our own navigation team. Actually, they were kind of concerned, like, where was anyone to help, like with all these applications and stuff. And the folks that were working there at the time were doing a lot of application signing. People coming in specifically for peer support or alternatives to suicide groups or hearing voices groups, kind of couldn't go there as often as they wanted to in a lot of ways because there were so many more people coming in looking for financial support, looking for application support for behavioral health, things like Department of Mental Health applications. Those are quite a mouthful. I don't know if anyone's trying to fill those out. They could be big pages long. And I know for myself, it could be very overwhelming going through a big form like that. So we had a lot of people seeking a lot of supports through the RLC or the Wildflower Alliance, but didn't know that the navigation team was here doing work. And so that's kind of like what they were bringing up over there, specifically just having some trouble like knowing where to go to fill out applications, who to talk to. Yeah, I didn't really write down too many notes. It was just a big conversation. It was a lot of people in the room sharing a lot of their thoughts, but a lot of folks were very troubled with a lot of their needs. And I'm filling out a lot of neighbor to neighbor funds right now, texting a lot of community members about their experiences right now. So I'm like taking in data as we speak, but yeah, that's all I think I have to share about that.
Thank you, Alan. Let's see. So we went over childcare, mental health, housing. John kind of already.
I'm sorry, Tanya.
No,
Alan,
go ahead.
Where is did you say where the Wildflower Alliance was located?
They are located at 361 North Street. I'm going to put that in the chat.
Thank you.
361 North Street. That's across the street from it's a big church on North Street. The one with the big yard in the front.
That'd be St. Joe.
Yes, right across the street from St. Joe.
And there is when they also offer like food and shelter for only a couple people at a time.
Yes, they have a pantry in the back. full assortment of supports.
Great. So John touched on, the different neighbor to neighbor programs that are offered in the area. One is through Habitat, that's up to $500, 18 Degrees, BCAC, MCLA, and they all, are applications that if you need assistance filling out, community navigators can assist you with that. And that's primarily for utility bills, medical bills, heating, car payments, car insurance payments. And, if we find that somebody is behind in a specific area and need help with that, then we can find a way to maybe pay their electric bill for them if they need assistance with something that the neighbor to neighbor program doesn't cover, so that they can free up that money to put it towards like a car repair or something like that. Jobs, I know that's a huge thing, and a lot of people were on unemployment during COVID, and then just the week ending in September 4th, the additional $300 a month for unemployment benefits ended. And so you could still claim your unemployment, but you weren't receiving the additional $300 a week. So I know that a lot of people are struggling right now trying to find jobs at the same rate that they were making before COVID hit. And that's also something that we can assist with, or get that connection over to Mass Hire or different, job, trying to find that word.
Job service assistance.
Yes, thank you.
Ginger has her hand up. I don't know if Ginger has something she wanted to share.
Oh, go ahead, Ginger.
I was just wondering, so you said neighbor to neighbor, but you also mentioned 18 Degrees and other agencies. So are these agencies distributing the money for neighbor to neighbor, or these are all different funds?
These are different funds. So Habitat has neighbor to neighbor funds that we have been given from the Taconic Foundation. And with that comes how much we can spend per applicant, and also what the guidelines are for each application that comes in, like what they will allow to be paid. So 18 Degrees also gets funding, and I'm not exactly sure where they get their funding from.
It's all the same, Tanya. Yeah, it's all coming from Berkshire Taconic. It's just a matter of how quickly those organizations are able to disperse the funds. And so Habitat, because we have the community navigators out in the community, I feel like we have a jump on some of the other organizations and getting those. So this is, I think, our third or fourth round of neighbor to neighbor funding, which is why we have the lower amount right now. Carolyn can correct me where I'm wrong.
Yeah, so this is round number 6. And they, after the COVID resiliency, which technically came through the Berkshire Taconic Foundation, the amounts and the funding stream and how much you could give under that program was higher than what we have under the regular neighbor to neighbor. And I think part of that is, the pot is just so big, and the need, nobody anticipated the need being this long.
Right. And then I'm sorry, a follow-up question. So can a family requesting, say, from 18 Degrees also go to another agency at the same time, or do you guys talk with each other? Is there no double dipping? How does that work?
Do you want me to answer that one, Tanya?
Yes, please.
Okay, so we do have a system that we are able to track, but sometimes we are able to, I'll use this example. Somebody might come to us because they have a huge housing bill. So what we'll do is we'll help them apply for RAFT, and then we'll take and help them with the electric. And if we have somebody else that knows they have a pool of money that can help with something else, we'll help, like, holistically deal with all of that. So it's not, and we all pay the vendors directly. Nobody cuts a check to the person. They pay the vendor. And then we have a process where the vendor has to acknowledge that they're being paid, what time period it's for, all kinds of stuff that from the person who's putting in the application, they don't see all the back office stuff that has to happen. But we do that in order to make sure that the funds are being used equitably, and also like no super double dipping. It's just a matter of a lot of the people in our community have been under this financial stress for so long that it really needs like putting all of the pieces together to get people from month to month at this point.
Thank you for the clarification.
To give you an idea of the amount of demand just from the neighbor to neighbor through Habitat, through the 6 rounds, there have been over $200,000 distributed in the last 18 months or so. And that was just through one outlet. And there have been, I don't know, 4 or 5 different ones over the course of the program.
Thank you.
Okay, so
Tanya, you have your hand up too. I don't, it's obviously not you, but it must be someone from your household.
no.
No? Okay. Oh, maybe the thing reordered and I thought it was the Tanya Frazier. Okay, never mind.
I was gonna say I will keep my hand down. Another topic was schooling, and there was a lot of residents that I worked with when school shut down 18 months ago, trying to get them the hotspots so that they could get the internet to their house, so that their kids could do the schooling. And then last year there was the option of doing in person or doing the virtual academy for the whole school year. And this year again, those are still 2 options, in person or doing the virtual academy. So there was a lot of questions and concerns about if you were in the virtual academy last year, how does that transfer over into your child going back to in person, or vice versa? How are they going to be transferring over the credits? And then the virtual academy switched everything up this year and is running it completely different than they were last year. So there's even more questions about how are we supposed to do this as parents, help our children through this right now while they're home, when we feel like we finally got a grasp on it last year, but they switched everything up on us this year again. And for me, one of the biggest resources that I'm always telling parents that have children in school that are having problems in school or anything like that is that there is the 18 Degrees PCC program that work with children who are having some trouble in school and everything like that to try to get them back on track. So that's one of the biggest resources in Pittsfield right now for children.
Can I just mention one more thing?
Yeah,
18 Degrees at the Family Resource Center also has a school liaison who can assist with like IEPs, 504s, advocacy, stuff like that.
great. And transportation. So there was a huge decline in like the response of taxis getting to people. It was like up to 2 hours to wait for a taxi cab in Pittsfield. And I think that's still where we're at. And that's not really something that, you know, we have the power over changing. That's another thing of not having enough people working there to respond to the calls to get out there. But there was free taxi rides that were being offered to and from getting your vaccine, if that was an issue transportation wise. So I don't know if people took advantage of that, but that was one of the resources that we were putting out into the area. And then also people getting their vaccine. So as community navigators, we did a lot of vaccine outreach in the west side of Pittsfield and talked to a lot of residents about receiving the vaccine and whether they did or planning to or are against it. And for the most part, it was people planning on getting it and just didn't know where to go. So we had pop-up clinics. There was one at the Christian Center. There was one at Durant Park, actually 2 of them at Durant Park. And then just always putting out where the next pop-up clinic was going to happen. Like there was one at Wacona Park, and if you went there and got your vaccine, you got a free ticket for the game that night. And as of right now, the biggest one that is open is over on East Street, where the urgent care is, where you go to get tested for COVID. They're also giving out vaccines, and they can do by appointment or walk-ins for that. So did anybody have any other like topics that they were having a hard time with during COVID? Alan, I see your hand. Go ahead.
I just wanted to add to your comment about the taxis. In my work on the crisis team, we use taxis all the time when sending people to, our crisis community unit, Pomeroy House. We would send people via taxi from the ER to the Pomeroy House. At the same time, we would have people sent from there to the ER. We would have the taxi pick literally anyone up from anywhere in the county sometimes. I remember a specific situation years ago where I called the taxi and had them pick up someone in Great Barrington and bring them all the way up to Pittsfield. So I could say for certain at the times, the amount of time it has taken for a cab to be there, like with a wait time, it has, like, I don't know, maybe quadrupled. I remember waiting 15 minutes and being like, that's a long time. And then it went up to 20, and then it went up to a half hour. Before I left, which was in early April 2021, I think the wait time, was about an hour. And it would just feel like it was not getting any lower. So as you can imagine, someone in mental health just went in for their first time at the ER, and that's never fun, speaking from experience. And then, maybe they get admitted to the Pomeroy House, which is not an easy thing to do because the Jones 2 and Jones 3 units, being Jones 2 being the voluntary unit, Jones 3 being the involuntary unit, combined during the pandemic. So we lost half of all the inpatient psychiatric beds during the pandemic as well. So there's a huge limit on who can get mental health care. So you're not going up there unless something serious is going on, as they would say. So instead, you'd get to go to Pomeroy House if there was a room available. Then you'd get into the ER waiting room, and then maybe me or someone else would be there helping you get that taxi. And then you hang up the phone and be like, it'll be an hour and 15 minutes before you're going to get picked up to go over there. It's a really awful feeling to just sit in that waiting room for an hour and a half after being in there for so long, just to get to the place so you can get there. And then you have to take a whole shower and have all your clothes get washed because it was during COVID. It was, the aside from all the other mental health things that were going on that really kind of, slowed things down and got the things were really difficult to access. The cab wait time did not make anything easier. So I just wanted to expound on that topic.
So with everybody's work that they do out in the community, I know that people are here from different organizations as well. Oh, sorry, Carolyn, you have your hand up.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask Pastor Joel, I learned about something that they do at their church that I had not known about just like a week ago. Their Laundry of Love, I think it's called, Pastor Joel. Is that something that you could talk a little bit about?
Yeah, this is, I am new and I don't run this program. It's a group of members at my church who work with, oh gosh, it's one of the laundromats on North Street, and you'll forgive me for forgetting their name. But basically how it works during COVID is the owner of that laundromat will work with people directly, and the church pays the owner, and the owner will then credit the people for doing their laundry. What I'm not clear on is how the people are identified. And I know that pre-COVID, they would have events like, you know, Thursday at a certain time, that's when we're doing Laundry Love. But I think during COVID, from a user perspective, it's actually been nicer because you can go at your own schedule and you can be a little more discreet about it. So that is something that I should know as pastor at Zion, but it's just been running itself. So Carolyn, actually, if you know any more details, I'd welcome your input.
Okay, so I don't know any more details. Donna just happened to tell me about it. But what was fascinating and encouraging to me was it didn't take a system to figure that out, right? It just took knowing that there was a need and people with open hands and hearts and wallets to help implement that. And it just was like a great act of kindness for many people. So when we're thinking about Working Cities Wednesdays, I think we often are thinking about those kind of things too. Like, what is the positive impact all of us can make together when we brainstorm a solution, and then how do we put it together? So thank you for you guys offering that, because I don't think that's a widespread thing and many people need it.
That is something that let me do a little research on, because it's probably time for me to learn. And then I can pass the information on to someone who organized this meeting, and perhaps I can share next time I'm here.
That would be great, because that's a resource that community navigators could tell people about and perhaps expand through donations outside the church as well.
Okay, so if nobody else has anything else that they experienced during COVID that they would like to speak about, like resources that were tough to get or that they noticed were hard for community members or anything.
Just real quick, I'm sorry. One trend I guess I saw, it came a lot from Berkshire Housing, was just the delay in response, the amount of time people had to wait to receive services. It took, you know, they were told, I think it was 90 days, and it turned out to be like 4 months, 5 months. You know, a lot of people lost a lot of opportunity because of the wait time that it took to kind of disperse some of the money.
Yes, that was something that we were all noticing, is because of the increase of the applications that were going into Berkshire Housing, and they're short-staffed, so it came crashing down a little bit. And I think that they're just trying to recover as best as they can from being inundated with all of those applications at once. So I know it's super frustrating to deal with residents that are like, I applied for RAF 4 months ago and I haven't gotten it, and now my landlord's talking about evicting me. And, you know, if they applied through us, like me personally, I speak with that landlord and let them know when we applied for the raft. I do constant check-ins with the raft program to see where they're at with that applicant, just to keep the landlord updated, just so that all of a sudden one day they come home and their stuff's sitting out on the lawn. So I try to keep the landlords as informed as possible with the ones that have applied through me. just because I don't want to see that happen just because of the increase of the need of that right now.
And then one
John?
more thing, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Go ahead, John.
absolutely.
One more thing, in our staff meeting today, we were informed that, you know, regarding the mental health, that CSO has a year waiting list. So just wanted to put out there, you know, that mental health services are seriously lacking, specifically for our youth.
That's absolutely true. You know, mental health services in Berkshire County are stretched as it is, and with COVID, everything's become even more backlogged. But the thing I wanted to speak on is this widespread staffing shortage. There are everybody is having issues with staffing from service provider agencies to restaurants to everybody. And it would be, I don't know why that is, but if anyone has any ideas about why that is, I would be very happy to hear them, because something needs to happen where people are going back to work or feeling comfortable going back to a place of employment again. But I'm open to suggestions.
Just FYI, I dropped a link in the chat a minute ago, applyhousinghelp.mass.gov. And so if you are assisting or you know of anybody who is waiting for an extended period of time for their RAFT application or housing assistance application, that is the link to use to check status of applications, and that's what the navigators have been using. So if you need help navigating that system, please reach out to a navigator, but otherwise the link is there in the chat.
Okay, so let me just check and make sure that nobody else has their hands up. Phone's not working. Okay, so the last half an hour, we dedicate to an open forum, and that's where anybody that has any resources or ideas for Pittsfield can share them either in the chat, and then we will talk about them out loud, or they can raise their hand and speak about what resources they know of that we didn't mention during this meeting that they want to put out there for the community, or ideas of how to help the community. So Joyce put up the Massachusetts Smoker Helpline is offering an incentive program to help residents 18 years of age or older who use menthol tobacco products quit. Residents will receive a $10 gift card after completing the first coaching call, and a $15 gift card after the second call, and a $25 gift card after the third call. The phone number is 1-800-QUIT-NOW, or enroll online at www.makesmokinghistory.org. Thank you, Joyce.
I also have one other thing, if that's okay. That's why I put the other thing in the chat, because I didn't want to hog the space. But on October 1st from 1 p.m. to 3 p.m., Berkshire Area Health Education Center is doing a webinar on sowing the seeds of change, food sovereignty in the Berkshires. And we have a really good lineup of guest speakers. We have Leah Penniman from Soulfire Farm, who's going to talk about food sovereignty and security and racial justice. We have Sarah Gardner, who is a professor at Williams College, who will be talking about farming. And we have Morgan Ovitsky, who everyone knows. And then we have Mom Bet's Freedom Farm from South County, who's going to talk about food sovereignty and farming. And it plans to be a really informative, really interesting time. It is free, and you just have to go to berkshireahec.org and go to the register page, and it's absolutely free. So we encourage everyone to pass the information along. Thank you.
Joyce, if you have a link to that event, that would be great if you could put that in the chat.
I do.
Thanks.
Linda, I don't know if you're there. Can you talk briefly about the October 2nd is going to happen before our next meeting, the West Side Neighborhood Cleanup Day?
It is. Yes, we are very thankful in the West Side neighborhood that the city has been able to do their usual annual fall cleanup in the West Side again. Last year, it got skipped because of the pandemic. So we will be there at the parking lot at Conti School with 4 of the dumpsters. If you got a notice in the mail, you are in the area of where you are allowed to bring stuff up to Conti School. And that's anything other than things that are hazardous waste. We don't take that. We can't take electronics. So those are our no-nos. But most other things, and do look at the flyer, and I will post the flyer again on the West Side Neighborhood Facebook page so that everybody can see it. If you have things, if you're in the area that you got a flyer and you have things that are too large for you to put in your car, or you don't have a car, but you have, say, a couch that you want to get rid of, the Pittsfield housing trucks will be going around and picking things up at curbside. Now, Pittsfield housing drivers and employees are city employees, so they cannot go onto our properties or into our houses. If we have things, we have to get them to curbside. And I wouldn't put it out earlier than the night before, or you might get ticketed, but do put your stuff out between evening and 8:30 in the morning on Saturday, October 2nd, because the trucks usually start a little early. We start the real cleanup at Conti at 9, but the trucks usually start early. And once the containers are filled, then that's it. So even though it says 9 to noon, if everything is filled up by 11, we're done when the 4 containers are filled up.
Thank you.
I know I've got stuff, and this first year I'm going to be looking for the trucks to come around and stop at my place. And I have heard from neighbors that a lot of other people do too. And I am keeping a list to make it easier for the truck drivers to plan where they're going to go and how much they can fit in the back of the truck on one round. So please do give a call. My number is on the flyer.
And for anyone who's curious, like I was, Morningside neighborhood generally does their dumpster day / neighborhood cleanup day in the spring. They also missed last spring due to COVID. So there is high hopes that Morningside will be able to do the same in the spring. But as Linda said, Saturday, October 2nd is limited to residents of the West Side.
Yeah, and within a certain set of zip codes, not zip codes, HUD codes. So if you did not get a flyer, you're not eligible to bring things. We think of the neighborhood as broader than what the HUD designations are. Oh, and the other thing is make sure that you bring something that with you that shows your address there. So whether it's a driver's license or utility bill or some other kind of a bill that shows that you actually live at that place, because we can't, it's a requirement that we do check.
And you will be taking mattresses, Linda?
Yes, we will. If you can bring the mattress up to Conti, bring it up. If you can't, put it out at curbside, give me a call so that I can put you on the pickup list. And the truck will come around and grab your mattress.
Perfect. I'll give you a call to set that up.
Very good.
Also, I wanted to share that I did get the information from South Congregational Church about their signups for the Thanksgiving food drive that they do. And they are they have multiple days that you can sign up for the baskets. Let me see if I can put it in the chat real quick. I can't. So that will be posted on the Berkshire Bridges Working Cities Facebook page. And if anybody wants that information, they can send me an email and I can send the flyer over to them.
Joel had his hand up for a second. I don't know if he had something he wanted to share.
Joel, did you still have something you wanted to share?
Oh, no.
Maybe not. Okay. So like we were talking about, there's RAFT, there's DTA, there's SNAP benefits, there's Social Security, there's Social Security disability, there's neighbor to neighbor, there's vital services, there's Habitat homeowner applications, there is AmeriCorps that is running. There's also the Build Corps that is going on through Habitat, that applicants can come down to the office located at 314 Columbus Ave and fill out an application or speak with somebody regarding what these programs are.
Yeah, can I quick pitch for the Habitat Build and Repair Program? Some people think the deadline has come and gone. While the service year has begun, we are a certified host site, which means that we can onboard folks at the kind of 3/4 mark and the halfway mark of the year. So we are still accepting and entertaining applications for the Habitat Build and Repair Program, which is a stipend skill development service year, where you get to build alongside the Habitat construction team, repairing and building homes in our community, so that there can be affordable homes and affordable home repair for our community of residents, and also at the same time build the kind of economic mobility, skills, workforce development of our local community members. So it's a really great program where we hope to get more people on board. And then there's another quick pitch. The community navigators they're like sponges. They're always interested in learning something new. So we are having weekly professional development days for our community navigators, where they are learning a lot of the skills and regulations of what they were talking about tonight. But that is not a closed door session. So if there are other community residents, leaders, even if you're not necessarily interested in becoming a community navigator, but you're interested in sitting alongside and learning about the RAFT program, or learning about mental health with Alan, or just learning about developing your own leadership skills, please be in touch with us so that we can get you kind of in the loop. And then if there's ever a topic you're interested in, you're more than welcome to join us. And those are going to be Friday mornings every week.
Okay. All right, everyone. Well, if nobody else has any ideas or resources to put out there on this meeting, I will let you go a little bit early tonight.
It's not an idea or a resource, it's more of another need, I guess.
Okay.
I forgot to mention it earlier. PCC is looking for Spanish-speaking mentors to work with some of our Spanish-speaking youth. So if anybody knows of anybody that has some time in their hands and wants to work with Spanish-speaking youth, you can direct them over to PCC. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Okay, Well, everybody, thank you for joining us for the September edition of Working City Wednesdays. Like I said, I put my contact information in the chat. So if you have any further questions, comments, or concerns, please reach out to me so that we can address the issues that are going on in the community to make our community stronger and work for everybody that is here. So thank you so much, and everybody continue to do the amazing work that you are doing. Have a good night.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, Tanya. Have a good night.
Thank you.